Chapter 9. Michael dug his pouch out of his pocket. Carefully, he folded the paper and placed it inside the worn canvas. His hand brushed the smooth skin on which King Solomon had written the second decision. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Michael counted the priceless pieces of wisdom aloud. I'm supposed to receive 7, he thought. Where will I go next? Michael tensed in expectation of leaping across time and space, but nothing happened. Finally, feelings of weariness from the unbelievable journey overcame Michael. Unable to keep his eyes open, he put the pouch back in his pocket and lay down. He tried to stay awake and was scared to fall asleep, but he couldn't fight it. Images of his father lying in the hospital swirled through his mind. Son, your mother needs you, his father whispered. Michael, where are you? Are you okay? His mom pleaded. He tried to reach out to them, but they were just out of his touch. This is crazy, Michael thought. I'm having a dream in the middle of a dream. I have to wake up. Michael woke in a drenched sweat. He was terrified of closing his eyes again. Too real, he mumbled as he sat up. Looking around, Michael saw that he was on a concrete floor surrounded by paper. Sitting up straight, he rubbed his eyes as his senses cleared. Directly in front of him was more paper. Michael rolled to his knees and got to his feet. He saw that these were not ordinary pieces of white paper, but photographs. All of the photographs were of children of all ages and colors. Banded sets of photographs were stacked neatly on shelf after shelf after shelf. Michael stepped into an opening on his left. It was an aisle of some sort, and just beyond it stood massive racks of clothing. Walking over to one rack, he placed his hand over a small coat. He realized quickly that every single article of clothing was a coat. Thousands, Michael thought, maybe even hundreds of thousands. Michael turned back toward the photographs and gasped. There were shelves of photographs, one on top of the other, stacked literally out of sight. Looking up, he couldn't even see a ceiling. There were no light fixtures in this place, or any lights for that matter, and yet somehow everything was bathed in a soft, even glow. To his right and left, the aisles continued without end. There seemed to be no definite structure to the building, if it was, in fact, a building at all. Am I still dreaming? Michael wondered. He kept walking and found new aisles, but none with an end. He saw blue jeans and medicine and pictures of homes. There were heaters and diplomas, marriage license, bicycle tires, and food. Slowly he worked his way back to the pictures of the children. On the way he passed an area stacked with money, cash from all over the world in all amounts. This makes absolutely no sense, he said out loud. Continuing down the aisle, he counted 209 steps before the money was no longer beside him. Soon, Michael was back where he had begun, even though he hadn't even seen close to everything. As he turned in a complete circle, gazing all around him, a picture floated down from somewhere above, and landed on the floor not far from where Michael stood. Picking it up, he moved to place it back on the shelf, but stopped. Something bothered him about the photograph. It was a color photo of two children, a boy and a girl, each around 9 or 10 years old. They were obviously brother and sister and looked very similar to Michael. He shook his head in wonder. Faintly, almost as if it was in his head, Michael heard something. Glancing up, he looked down the aisle and saw a figure walking toward him. Michael was tall, but this man would clearly tower over him. He was blonde. Almost golden curly hair. It touched his eyebrows and barely brushed his ears. He was wearing a robe that draped over his shoulders and hung to his knees. It was white, or maybe light. In fact, this man seemed to be dressed in what Michael could only describe as shades of light. The man smiled a greeting as he came closer, then stopped and turned to straighten a wheelchair on his right. When he did, Michael's mouth dropped open. The man had wings. Closing the distance between them, the man stopped and said, "Hello, Michael Holder. I am Gabriel." Michael stared at him in awe. "You're an angel," he finally managed to say. "An archangel, actually." Gabriel smiled, revealing perfectly even white teeth. "There is a difference, you know." "I'm sorry. I really didn't." Michael stammered. "No, I mean, that there was a difference." "No matter, Michael Holder," Gabriel responded. "I am honored to make your acquaintance." Pointing to the photograph Michael still had in his hand, he said, "May I?" "Oh, sure," Michael said, and gave it to him. Gabriel looked at the picture for a moment. "Beautiful children, aren't they?" Michael nodded in agreement and watched as Gabriel placed it in a basket of loose photos. So I am dead," Michael blurted out loud. Gabriel wrinkled his forehead and appeared confused. "Excuse me? If I'm with you, then I must be in heaven, right? And if I'm in heaven, I must be dead." Gabriel laughed. "No, you are not dead. This is merely a stopover. Perhaps the most important stopover in your travels. This is the only destination that all travelers have in common." Have there been many travelers? Michael asked. Relatively few, Gabriel said, when one considers the beginning of time as you know it, and the number of people with whom we have dealt. But for those who were chosen to travel, an understanding of their true mission begins here, in this place. Joan of Arc, George Washington, and Martin Luther King, Jr. all took a step toward destiny from where you now stand. Which is where exactly? Michael motioned with his hand. What is this place? Gabriel held up one finger. Not quite yet, he said. First, let us walk together. Moving slowly, Gabriel led Michael past ceiling fans and air conditioners, tires and blankets, watches and pictures of animals. As they walked, Michael asked the angel, Why am I here? Gabriel smiled. Why do you think you're here? I don't know, Michael answered. Then it is not time for you to know, Gabriel said. Come.